Okay, so this video is just a little bit about sort of the importance of reflection and how we should be having reflection as part of the learning that's happening in distance learning, but also in our classrooms all the time. So I'm just going to start with John Dewey, and he obviously talks about we do not learn from experience, we learn from reflecting upon experience. There's a famous quote from him. And so Dewey talks about these four main points in much of his work. Reflection is making meaning. And what that means is that it's a way of students to be able to make connections between the learning, between their experiences from either before and then moving forward. And so this is a way of like putting the learning into particular shelves in their brain so that they can then come back and access it at another time. It brings about the idea of the continuity of learning possible, and really the progress of the individual in terms of their thinking, but then also then how that applies to a more community or global aspect. Number two is about sort of reflection is a way of thinking. There are many different types of thinking, but obviously reflection is one of that cornerstones because it allows our students to be able to make connections and be able to pull all of these things together. It's like putting the last pieces of a puzzle together. And reflection is about community and interaction with others. So the conversations that we're having with others, the ideas that we get from others is really a way of us helping to reflect. And lastly, reflection is about sort of personal, but also intellectual growth of ourselves, but also of others around us. And so again, it's that sort of shared reflection is important, that learning from others. So we might all agree that reflection is a powerful tool, but how can we really help students to reflect during distance learning? So here's a few ways which we can encourage this. So encourage our students to close the feedback loop and check in on the feedback that we're already giving students. We're giving students a lot of feedback. You know, this could be through a Flipgrid, this could be through a Padlet, this could be through Seesaw, but Google Classroom. How are we actually then asking them to go back and check it? So please just have a check and see if you can remind your students to do this. Go back and listen to the feedback that we've been given and let them to maybe ask to put another reflection onto that. Second point is encouraging students to reflect on their learning. And this can be on a daily basis, but we are asking them at the moment on a Friday to share their reflections. This could also be a closing, or this could be a digital reflection. So this could be on Flipgrid or Padlet or Seesaw. Third one is about sort of giving students the opportunity to be able to offer feedback to their peers. In Seesaw, they can all actually offer feedback to each other now. Initially, that was turned off during digital learning, but now there's a safe way in which they can do that. So they can now actually access each other's. So that could be an opportunity to ask our students to go in and check on what else our other students are doing and how they can support and how they can learn from each other. We're encouraging students to check out the other amazing reflections that's happening on Padlets on the Friday. And so, you know, can they go in there and can we ask them to do that? You know, they might learn something about themselves, or they might grow their understanding about how to even give a reflection. And again, of course, we can model. Modeling is such an important part of teaching and learning. So how do we model the reflecting on our days in our weeks? You know, can we start that and think about sharing that with our students? You know, I learned this about myself today, or I learned that about myself. It's an important part of that process. When we do that, then our students can also do that. The next couple of slides are a little bit more information and sort of like tips and ideas and the benefits of reflection. And I'm going to go through these pretty quickly, but I'll also share this with you. So if you want to read it in your own time, then you're able to do that. So benefits of reflection is really about significance. And so, you know, the important part is that the students then own their learning process. We value the process of you know, what they failed at and what they did well and what they need to change. So it's that process recognition that they are coming to that understanding of what they need to do. It helps with goal setting, for instance. The third point here is about sort of giving them strategies so that they can improve on their learning. Again, thinking about, you know, how can I get better at my reading? How can I get better at writing? What can I do to be a better researcher or to be a better collaborator? And then the last point is sort of around about motivation. It really supports motivation with students in terms of giving them that opportunity to reflect on not only, you know, their ideas, but also their feelings and emotions. You know, we know that this is a challenging time for families, for students, and for ourselves. And so how do we give students the opportunity to share how they're feeling so that they understand that they're feeling like this because of something? One of the elements is sort of, why do they need to learn this? So it's that analysis point of view. The benefit of reflection in the classroom, but also during distance learning, is to be able to know the why. Why are we learning this? How are we explaining that to students? And then how can they reflect on, I now understand how this can help me to do this, or I now understand how this can, that I am a better collaborator, or I'm a better researcher, and this is going to help me to be able to do this. And the last point is really about sort of learning that won't be content driven. And it's important to know students learn how to learn and how to continue to be learners. We know in such an age that content is really not going to be the only thing. How can we support our students to become critical thinkers, or how can we support our students to really pause and reflect and know the how and the why behind the learning that should be happening at that moment? So that's a very quick run through on the importance of reflection. I hope it was a helpful reminder and the ways in which we can encourage our students to reflect on their learning and as a learner during these digital learning times. Please reach out to me if you have any questions or queries or concerns. I'm happy to help and support in any single way. Okay, hope you're all well, and I'll see you all soon.